And we're live. Welcome back, everyone, to the
Hey,
Monday morning coffee talk. I'm your host, Samantha from Love.Live.Dance. Thank you so much for joining us this Monday morning. And today, our very special guest is a amazing Latin dancer, uh, coach, instructor, dog lover, and oh yeah, he designs dancewear and is kind of amazing at it. Please welcome to the show, Marcos Martinez.
good morning.
Morning. So, if you are joining us live on twitch.tv/love live dance, please be part of our conversation this morning. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to answer any questions you might have. Um, if you are listening to this on the podcast version of the stream, welcome. We are doing this live every Monday at 10 a.m. So if you ever want to be part of the conversation, come over and join us there. But we'll just dive into it this morning. Marcos, how are you doing? How are you handling all of this?
I'm doing well, very, very well. I thought, to be honest, that all of this was going to be a lot worse than it really is. So I'm happy. The sun's out, the birds are chirping, the trees finally have leaves. So I feel good. I feel happy. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm excited to be here.
I
It's a
feel like
change. It's a change of routine for the last 6 weeks, definitely, to be
absolutely.
doing something like this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I feel like last week it was so dreary in Utah that the depression started to kick in, and then this week it was like it's sunny and it's 70 and
Yes.
it's gorgeous and I'm going to be okay.
Yes, yeah, Trev and I went for a long drive yesterday and the weather was just perfect. It was just so nice out. Um, so yeah, it's been good.
That's awesome. How are the puppies adjusting to having you guys home?
Good, good. They love it, of course. They love all the attention. Um, they're getting a lot of exercise because all I do is throw their balls for them all day.
Yeah.
And they can play fetch. They can play fetch all day. They don't get tired of it. It's really annoying. It's like cute for the first 5 minutes, and then after that, it's just so annoying because they're so demanding.
They just want all of the love and
Yeah,
attention. Remind me,
yeah.
what breeds do you have?
I have a Boston Terrier. That's Boogie, and then I have a Morkie, which is a Maltese and Yorkie mix. That's Gustavo, the smaller one.
Little cute fluff ball.
Yeah, he is cute. Do you have pets? I don't remember. I feel like you have a cat,
I
don't you?
do. Yes, I have a cat that I am sure will make his presence known any minute now.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Cats are great.
Yeah.
And then Cindy has 3 cats. You knew that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So we have a house full of animals, 5 animals total.
That makes life interesting, I'm sure.
It does, yeah. And then we get the occasional duck or goose in the backyard because we live right next to a golf course.
I was gonna say you are much closer to nature than I currently am.
Yeah, yeah. You want to see? I'll show you the backyard.
Ah. Oh my
So there's like
gosh.
nothing but field back there. Yeah,
But that's so
it's great.
gorgeous and green and welcoming. I
It
love
is,
it.
which is why I'm out here today because it's like the first good spring morning that I've had it here and sit and have some coffee.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go. Well, obviously, we want to dive into some of the topics, some of the reasons why I asked if you would be willing to jump in here. So let's talk with the big one. Obviously, what is MMD?
MMD. I wish I had this like cool statement for it, but literally it's just Marcos Martinez Designs. MMD started around 2011, um, and then over the years it's become a little more official. What I do is I tell people I offer specialty wear, um, because I do more than just dance attire.
Mhm.
Like my last project that I finished was actually a wedding dress.
Oh wow.
I do a lot of custom work. A lot of people don't know that. So yeah, it's I just offer custom attire making services. Yeah,
That's awesome.
primarily though, primarily it is dancewear. a lot of competitive Latin dresses, smooth dresses, and standard dresses.
Yep. And
Showcase dresses too. I'll do like that because like with this kind of thing, sometimes you need a very specific um, outfit. Like if you're doing a show dance or if you're part of a theatrical performance, you need something very specific. Yeah. So occasionally I'll do something like that too, which is very fun. It's kind of a change from just that beautiful dress. Not that I mind making beautiful dresses, but it's fun to switch it up occasionally.
yeah, it's nice to have different creative pursuits that are still
Yeah.
within the same kind of umbrella. I like that. You have designed the last three of my competition dresses, which I
I have.
love and I am not looking to part with anytime soon. Um,
Good. Great. I
but
have made you three dresses. That's right. Yeah, three
yeah,
dresses. There was the black one with the triangles, and then the navy, the navy blue smooth dress, and then the animal print lion dress. Right?
yes, yes. And I don't have those photos ready to pop them up in stream, but if you search either my Instagram or Marco's Instagram, you will come across those dresses.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
yeah, the black one, I have to say I adore, but I don't think I can fit into it anymore. I'm gonna have
Oh
to
no.
I'm gonna have to cut some of the COVID weight in order to get back into
mm,
that dress because it is
yeah.
tight.
Yeah.
But it's gorgeous. And that was
It is.
one
Yeah.
where that was the first one that we did, and we had not worked together yet. And I remember you coming in to our consultation and you're like, I had a fever dream and I just know what I want to put you in. And we spent the next like 30 minutes talking about your vision for the dress and kind of my style and what I'm comfortable with. And then we just made this gorgeous dress. Well, you designed this gorgeous dress. I just had the honor of wearing it. That was then immediately nicknamed by a couple people at the studio as the Cool Ranch Dorito dress because of all the triangles.
I haven't heard that before. That's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah,
So
I like how you said we made this dress because for me, my perfect from start to finish situation is when my client feels like they're involved with the whole process. So I actually appreciate that you made this dress. Um, I find also that I'm a lot more excited to make outfits when I really connect with my client. And I feel like you and I have always gotten along very well. Um, yeah, so I appreciate that. I think that my work is I try to make it very personal. You know, um, I guess just like with all other lines of work, when you can relate to whoever it is that you're working with or for, it seems to have a much better result and outcome. So yeah, it's
absolutely.
cool that you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can see that. I can tell immediately when I'm looking at a dance floor, whether it's at BYU or whether it's at Utah Star Ball. I can tell immediately when it's one of your dresses because I think the dancer looks so comfortable in their skin.
Hmm.
It's like they're
Yeah.
not even wearing a dress. It's just them exuding on the dance floor. And I think you have a very particular design eye that I really appreciate. I think you know really well what shapes and silhouettes are going to work on different body types and you tailor that based on your client. So, what does, if someone is considering getting a custom dress for the first time, or maybe they've had experiences with other designers with custom dresses, how does your process from consultation to final design kind of differ or change?
I think that what makes working with me so unique is that there are no secrets. I will keep you involved throughout the entire process, and that's something that I appreciate that I do that with my clients, and I know that they also appreciate that because I've heard a lot of horror stories where someone trusts a designer to make them a dress, and they'll have the initial consultation, whatever. They'll sketch something out, and then they won't hear from them until the dress is done. And I can't help but think that if I'm spending all of this money and investing all of this money in a custom dress, that I would like to know, like, just like, let's compare it to this. Let's say you're building a house, right?
Mm.
You contract someone to build you a house, and you want this house to be the house of your dreams. Like, there'd be something very unsettling for me if I met the contractor or the person that I'm hiring to do the job, and I don't hear from them again until the house is done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's just this disconnect, and I wouldn't appreciate that. So I don't try to put my clients through that either. So I think that's for me what makes working with me so, I guess, unique, based off of what I've heard. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And
so
to be honest, most of us are all control freaks. So
yeah,
we we
yeah,
we want to
yeah,
we want to be able to get into the dress before the stones go on and then know exactly where the fringe is going to hit. And then
yeah, yeah. And see, that's another thing is I do as many fittings as we need. Usually, only one is what we can normally get away with. So I'll have the initial meeting, and then the next time that I see the client is to fit the dress. They can see it on them. We can make any adjustments necessary, and then the third time they see it, the dress is done. But that's even though it's only 3 meetings, it's enough for them to be kept involved, and kind of see the whole process from start to finish.
absolutely. Absolutely. And coming from a client perspective, like I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I never felt with any of the dresses that you were coming in and saying, I want to design this for you, or I really believe that this is the way to go. It was always a conversation of, okay, what is your inspiration? What are you hoping to wear? And then how can I make that in a way that also says it was designed by Marcos, right? Um,
Yeah,
and
that's great.
yeah, yeah, I appreciate that. So if someone was considering, let's talk about three different levels, I guess. So let's talk. They want just a basic formal attire or cocktail attire for either judging a competition or the Saturday night of a big comp. They just want to have something that's a little bit more custom, a little bit more personalized. Um, and then someone that's looking for a dress for a competition floor, whether it's Latin or a smoother standard. And then someone that's looking for something that's completely out of the box, whether that's wedding dress or costume or showcase material. Um, what is the typical timeline that you like to work with for each of those? And what is the budget that somebody should probably plan on preparing?
Uh, okay, good question. Great question. All right, so usually what I tell people is I'm a month out, regardless of what kind of project it is. And that, for the most part, is accurate. If you get in touch with me a month at least before your event, almost always I'll be able to get it out by then. But there have been situations where someone comes to me and it's a complete emergency, and I have to make something in a couple of days. You know, um, I do that all the time. um,
We're not
but yeah,
encouraging it, but if it has
yeah,
to
no,
happen, it.
absolutely not. Be on top. Stay on top of your schedule.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, don't wait to the last minute, please, because then it's not good for anyone. Yeah, about a month. So 4 weeks to 6 weeks is usually the standard wait time
Okay.
for most pieces, and that doesn't really the complexity of the garment doesn't usually come into play. I mean, it could be a pair of pants, like a pair of Latin trousers. It could be, a basic practice dress. Usually it's just a month out, for the most part. But there are, specific situations where it's much shorter
Mm-hmm.
wait time. And then as for price goes, that can, I mean, it can be anywhere to anywhere.
Yeah.
It can be, I mean, I've made very kind of basic intro to dance dresses for like $300. I've also made, a first time dancer dress for $2,000. It just depends, whatever I think really whatever you can afford, whatever you're willing to spend, and how much you appreciate whatever it is that you're about to do. I think everyone values that differently. You know, I don't think that um, money should ever stop you from getting something that you're comfortable in. You know, I've always believed that if you're comfortable in whatever you're wearing, that's always going to affect your performance or your attitude. You know, with it, that's just how you feel at a fancy party or a dance lab or a very basic competition, whatever the case may be. But yeah, anywhere from $300 to $3,000, I'd say anywhere within that price range.
Yeah, and
I know it's a very vague answer, but hard to give a specific answer. Just that's where a conversation really comes into play. Just being able to understand your situation and being able to really kind of assess the situation, I guess.
yeah, and I like the fact that you're willing to work with the budget of your clients. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that is few and far between in this industry. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like uh, even though they are incredible with what they do and they make incredible attire, I think some of the other larger name dancewear brands are very much like the price is the price, and if you're not willing
Yeah,
to pay it, then you shouldn't be one of our
yeah,
clients. Um,
yeah.
and I think it's nice that you're able to just have a realistic conversation with your clients, saying, okay, we know this is
Yeah.
the goal, but this is the budget, so we can cut the cost by doing less stoning or less detail work, or you have room in your budget, so why don't we talk about the difference between regular stones or ABs, or
Hmm. Yeah,
finding ways to make it personal and tailored so that it fits the client.
for sure. Yeah, and it's interesting that you bring that up because I think that's another thing that kind of sets MMD apart from a lot of the big brands is that it's still very personal. You know, like you can go to a very big comp, and what you see outside of these comps are a lot of vendors, right, selling pre-made dresses. They'll
Mhm.
also do custom work, but um, they have a lot of pre-made dresses, and I look at these dresses, and the price tag is so outrageous,
It's ridiculous.
and people buy it, and I just like, why? Like, why would you go out and spend $5,000 on a dress that has been already worn or wasn't made for your body? But I don't know. Whatever the case may be, but yeah, when you work with me or someone on my team, it's definitely personal, and we don't take it for granted. We appreciate anyone that is willing to bless you, anyone that is willing to consider our brand. And for me, when someone gets to the point where they're sitting down in front of me at a consultation, I think it's uh, such an honor because you've done some work to get to that point.
Yeah,
You've talked to people or you've reached out to me and you drove all the way down to Provo, like whatever the case may be. But I don't
yeah.
take that lightly. I don't take it for granted, and I definitely try to fulfill whatever void it is that you're having.
I think that's awesome. I think that's amazing, and
Come to me first. Take that seriously.
yeah, I love that you have that attitude about your craft and your business, and I wish that was more the industry standard. Because
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. I'll share my kind of story and why I'm such a big vocal supporter of MMD and of people coming to find you. I owned two previous competition dresses when I was still competing pro-am. So before I became a pro, before I started teaching, as a poor post-college student trying to get my name out there on the competition floor. And I did. I bought two dresses that were like third hand used old sponsor dresses from a big name company who is amazing, and their dresses are phenomenal. But I paid twice what I paid for my custom dress from you to get a third hand used dress
Yeah.
with mystery stains, either coffee or tanner,
Mistakes.
that did not fit my body, and I felt amazing in those dresses. I still was able to exude confidence on the dance floor, but there is such a difference the first time if you've never stepped into a custom dress that was built for you, with you in mind, with your measurements. There is such a difference when you step into the custom dress for the first time, and you just are like, ah, yes, this is my second skin. This was made for me. And I think
Yeah,
that
yeah,
at whatever price point it is, whether it's just a basic practice dress or something really extravagant, I think that difference cannot be understated. Like it's or cannot be overstated.
mhm,
It's so important in making you feel confident as a dancer or a performer.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's I see it, like I'm a huge people watcher. I just love watching people. I like to see how they behave in certain situations, whatever. And whenever I'm at a competition, I can tell who's comfortable and who isn't comfortable dancing. And one thing I love is I love making a dress, or I also do menswear, right? I love making a garment. Let's just put it that way. I love making a garment and seeing the person that I made it for just radiant, like this confidence, like you can just see that they're happy wearing it, that they feel comfortable wearing it. And yeah, it's a nice feeling to know that I was able to participate in that outcome. Yeah, it's definitely a nice feeling.
Yeah.
And as far as price goes, like when you're working with one of these really big brands, these dresses are so expensive, and you have to you have to consider why they're so expensive, and that's that because in that one dress, there's probably a team of 10 people,
Yep.
that have taken part in making it, and one thing with working with me, every piece that has ever left my studio, I have personally made, I have worked on, and that's a nice feeling. And I've told people, like in conversation, they're like, oh, what do you see for the future? You should start doing this, you should start doing that, because of course everyone knows exactly what you should do. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
like, oh, I thought it was my label, but no, everyone around you knows exactly what you should do. It's like,
They've
and
all
I've
seen
always,
Project Runway. They know what you're supposed to be doing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the funniest thing. Anyway, we'll get into that later. But one thing, a promise that I've made myself is no matter how big I get, I never want to get so big that pieces will start leaving my studio that I didn't make. If we ever get to that point, then I really need to reevaluate my whole vision for what I'm doing. Um, yeah, and so the whole reason we kind of went into this stem of the conversation is because price, right?
Hmm.
So I'm able to keep my prices where they are because it's just, when I do have a team of two seamstresses help me. Um, so we're not having to pay all those middlemen. Like you come to me, I purchase the fabric myself, I design it myself, I cut it myself, I sew it myself, and yeah, we're able to keep the price a little lower, which is funny because you think that with it being so personal, it'd be more expensive than these big brands,
I was gonna say, you would think that because there's only so many hours of the day, there's only so much time that you can spend cutting and staring at a sewing machine,
Yeah,
that you would make your prices almost prohibitively high because it's a custom piece that was made by one person on their own at their small studio with limited availability for time and to take on projects. But you've taken the complete opposite approach. It's just me, so I can keep my costs low, so I can keep my prices low, so I can make it as affordable and as accessible as it has been.
yeah, yeah. I'm also not a money hungry person, so that helps too. I've been fortunate enough to be able to find a line of work where I'm able to express myself in a creative sense. And I am very fortunate to have been able to have found that. So I don't try to take advantage of it. I just, obviously, I need enough money to keep it running and to be able to live comfortably. So outside of that, I don't see any reason to change prices, because of course people that know better than me tell me, oh, you should charge more. I was like, I'm okay. Thank you. So
I hear you there. I hear you there. Um, so let's shift gears a little bit away from MMD. You are a Latin competitor currently competing.
I am. Yes, yes, I am.
Are
I
you?
thought I was done, but
But they brought you back in. You just
yep, they
can't get
brought
away.
me back in. Yeah.
Remind me, are you competing open amateur or did you switch to Rising Star Pro?
No, we're still amateur.
Okay.
Um, yeah, we're doing amateur. We have a like a 5-7 year plan, um,
Okay.
and obviously that doesn't all involve staying in the amateur league. We will eventually go pro if all things go well.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
but I thought I was done dancing. But life has that very interesting way of throwing the unexpected, and that's what it did last year. So the opportunity came up, and I figured why not, and I'm happy I did. Honestly, I love dance so much, and I love my new partner, and I think she's really talented, and I think that we look good together, and I think we have a lot of potential. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to see where we are at the end of this year, because we started dancing last August, so it's still relatively new,
Hmm.
the partnership. But I'm excited for it. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Um, were you able to get, were you able to go to any of the competitions this year before things kind of came to a
Oh
grinding
yeah.
halt? I know you were planning on doing Cali
Yes.
Open. Did you end up going?
Yeah. Yeah. We went to Cali Open. We met. I met Saidi in August, and our first competition was 4 days after meeting.
Wow.
So
That's
and
intense.
then it was a local comp, very small. We just really wanted to get out there. A new partnership is always a little nervous. You don't know how the other personnel, especially considering I had met her. Like I had barely just met her, and I didn't know how she dealt with stress, how she dealt with her nerves. So it really was just to get out there and kind of break the ice. Um, so that was the weekend that we met, and then the weekend after was it Vegas Open? It was a competition in Vegas. I don't remember exactly what competition it was,
I think Vegas
but
Open
that
is
was our
normally in the
first comp.
spring, so the fall would be
Yeah,
something.
yeah. So there we did. I don't remember what comp it was, but later that year we did. Is it something holiday, which is another Vegas comp? This is so bad. I should know what these comps are called, but
Holiday Dance
um,
Classic is the one at Luxor in December.
yeah, yeah. So we did that one too. But yeah, no. Once we met, we've been competing. We competed at least once every month, maybe a couple of times each month since we met. And yeah, we went out there and kind of did really well since we went out. So yeah, it's been fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I feel like, especially for new couples or younger couples that are coming up, that's a really important piece of information to kind of have is even if you are brand new in the partnership and you haven't kind of figured out all of the kinks, you're still creating a working relationship. It's so important early on to get seen at as many competitions as you possibly can because you want to get in front of
Yeah,
judges and you want to introduce this is the new competitive partner, this is our new partnership, these are our names, we're looking
yeah,
to work our way through the ranks. So it's important just to get seen by people, even if it's not where it's ultimately going to end up being.
yeah. So pros and cons to everything, right? As far as that goes, um, I feel like I've been doing this a while. I'm a kind of experienced at competing and dealing with stress and knowing how to manage all of this as far as dance goes. And she, even the ballroom was pretty new for her. She all of her life she's been involved with the ballet world,
Okay.
right? So we're both experienced dancers. So we went in this kind of with the right mentality. So yes, though I 100% agree with what you're saying, you also have to be careful because once you're out there and you're getting all of this exposure and judges are seeing you, um, if you're not quite up to par,
Yeah.
right, it can be detrimental. It can be very detrimental because these judges that actually care with what they're doing,
Hmm.
they'll remember you, and
Yeah.
they can either have a positive memory or a negative memory,
Yes.
right? So long as I mean, what we did was outrageously ambitious, to go out there after a week of meeting and competing against some of the at that competition, I believe the top three dancers were international finalists, right? And to go out there and to get called into the semifinal, which was for us some of my best results to that point. So it was very flattering that some judges were rooting for us, so it was great. But we definitely in that week of meeting we put in a lot of hours. I lost like 10 pounds because of all of the cardio that we were doing. Like the eating, we had to get the eating in check, we had to get the cardio in check, we had to get the stamina in check, and we definitely put a lot of work into that first week
Hmm.
because we knew that we were going to be up against some amazing talent, which we were. So yeah, you have to be very careful for sure. That's like I wouldn't recommend that for a new couple, like a very very beginner couple.
Yeah.
I'd say the experience and the preparation is more important. But it's like that saying goes, what is it like? Success comes like when it meets opportunity. Completely butchered that phrase, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like preparation, right? Like
Yep.
preparation for us, the opportunity came up and we just happened to have enough preparation between the two of us in our backgrounds to be able to take on that kind of challenge.
Yeah, you don't want to be underprepared going into your first competition because you don't want to look like you have just no idea what you're doing. But at the same time,
Yeah.
you don't want to
Also, don't be scared of it. Yeah.
right, right. Yeah, you don't want to say, well, it's a new partnership and we're going to wait a full year to train and get our routines really in check and down before we even hit a competition floor because you've lost so much
Yep.
valuable just being seen in front of a judge can sometimes be a
Hmm.
really key step to progressing you forward even if you aren't getting the
Yes,
results
absolutely.
that you're expecting. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
we have a question from the chat. Thank you, chat. Are folks staying up on
Oh,
their
yay.
cardio during quarantine, or is the first competition going to be a bit rough? Um, I mean, I'll let you answer that because I think I saw on Instagram that you're still putting in some hours on the dance floor. I think
Oh, yeah.
I think the
Yes,
people
yes.
that are highly motivated to compete, that have competitions that are planned for the second half of the year, that you're still training, you're still hitting the gym, you're still burning up the dance floor.
Yeah. Yeah. So as far as my perspective on this goes, and I've talked to a few of my competitive dancing friends, um, where we are at is so this whole situation that's going on is temporary, right? We understand that. Everyone understands that. The thing is, competitions are all canceled or postponed, and we don't have any exact dates yet as to when we're going to be released to start participating with competitive events. No one knows.
Yep.
But what we do know is that eventually we will be able to again, right? So you can either do one of two things. You can kind of just let everything come to a halt, or you can continue training, you can continue practicing, you can continue doing whatever it is that you were doing before this all happened to ensure that when we are able to, start competing again, that we're ready. And that's just based off personality. Everyone has a different personality type. Mine is if I'm not doing something proactive, I get very very down on myself. Right. So since this all happened, I've been biking a lot. I've been working out a lot. The one thing that I wasn't doing was dancing with Saidi, right? And that was just out of courtesy to her and to my own health.
Yeah.
Um, but after a lot of conversations, we decided that it would be okay to start meeting, to start practicing again. So as of last week, we started up again.
And I think that's so
And
important that it was a conversation between the two of you to say, okay, this is our situation, this is our exposure rate, this is your situation, this is your exposure rate. Does it make sense? Is this
yep,
something that we're willing to take on in a very safe and controlled situation
yeah,
so that we can continue as a
yeah.
partnership?
And ultimately, we determined that we could approach this and still be safe about it, right? Uh, it was very funny though, because when we decided to practice, we started, of all things, we started by doing a round. And what that means is basically you do all of your dances, no breaks, as if it were kind of a competition, right? So we
Yeah.
started with the round, and it felt great, because she had been doing exactly what I was doing. She was working out, she was going on runs, she was dancing on her own, and it's almost like we didn't skip a beat, which was great. So, which was great. Of course, there were a few hiccups, because we hadn't danced in over a month.
Hmm.
But for the most part, like we were still athletic. Those quarantine 15 hadn't affected us too negatively.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that depends on your perspective. These are scary times, um, and everyone is going to deal with it differently. And the way that I've dealt with it is I've just stayed very, very active, just trying to do anything and everything that I can,
Hmm.
to try to hold on to that little bit of normalcy,
Hmm.
normality, however you say it, and yeah, little by little things will start to unfold and life will be back to normal. But until then, I'm trying to do all I can to make sure that I'm prepared when life resumes,
Hmm.
you know.
And it will resume. And I think
It's
my two thoughts on that are one, I'm not going to judge anybody for how they react in this situation.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if you are someone
Because
that,
everyone's different.
yeah,
Yeah,
everyone's situation is different. So if you have, an extended family that you're living with and you don't want to risk exposing them, if you are
yeah,
immunocompromised, if you have other health issues and you are taking this time to just stay home and stay safe, that is fantastic and valid, and that is 100% the best for you. And if you're in a
yes,
situation where you are two single people living on your own, you don't have very much exposure to the outside community, and you can find a way that you can find a practice space either at someone's house or at a studio that nobody is at, and you can practice that's not violating any of your local city or county ordinances. Like, by all means, continue doing what you're doing. I don't think anybody can kind of judge or you know
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
sofa quarterback what's going on here.
yeah, yeah.
The other thing, and I don't know if you saw this or not, I only saw it because I'm following one of the judges on Facebook, but I think it was the World Russian Championship was supposed to be this past weekend. Um, it did not get canceled, but it did change. So all of the judges were virtual. So the judges were watching a live stream of the events, and they only allowed 8 competitors in each division, and there were only
Hmm.
eight competitors allowed on the dance floor at a time. So they essentially did a straight to final pro-am with a live stream that the judges were watching to compete. I'm
Got it.
interested. I think that's going to be a very European approach or a very
Hmm.
Russian approach. I don't know if the US is going to adopt that. I don't know if the NDCA would okay it.
Yeah.
But from your perspective as a competitor, how would you feel if I'm going to say BYU because BYU is the one that got canceled and is closest to us. If they said we've decided to reschedule for June 15th, but we're doing a closed ballroom, so we'll only have 8 competitors on the floor at a time, and
Hmm.
the judges won't be in the room; they'll be watching you virtually. Would you, as a competitor, still put your name in that ring, or would you wait until we were back
What
to traditional sense?
what what date did you say? June what?
June 15th, middle of
June
June.
15th. Yeah, I would register for sure so that I could be considered as a competitor. But that's still over a month away. You
Hmm.
know, a lot can change in that time. So I think as that day approached, I would be thinking about this a lot, and I've talked to Trev, my coach, and everyone that I valued, you know, whoever had an opinion that I valued, and then I make my determination. I think is that the date got closer.
Hmm.
Um, I'd want to say yes because I'm human and I love to compete and I love to dance and I want to interact. Um, but there's also a part of me that would say no, you know. Um,
And is that from
yeah,
a would the no be from a safety perspective, from not wanting to be in the same room as those other competitors, or would that be from a you don't feel like it would be a quality experience from from a competitive front?
it would be a unique experience for sure, and an experience that I feel as a dancer I'd be able to share, you know, later on in life.
Hmm.
As, oh yeah, do you remember that huge issue with coronavirus? Yeah, well, you know, we still competed, and this is how we did it. You know, it'd be a cool story to tell. The reason that I'd have my doubts about it would be more so for safety, you know, because you're still like 8 competitors at a time. That's 16 people. You know, that's a lot of people.
It is.
And that doesn't include the people that need to be within the venue to organize it and to make sure everything's running smoothly. So we're dealing with, you know, a good chunk of people within 4 walls.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I would have to really consider is that worth it for me and for the health of everyone around me, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to look into that to see how that was actually, you know, decided upon. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like, and to your point, they made a big deal about it only being limited to a certain number of competitors, but you're right. There was still an on deck coach to let the competitors know
Hmm.
that they needed to be on the floor at this time. There was still someone running
The music
music.
person, you
Exactly,
know,
exactly. There was still
the
someone
camera
setting up the
people.
cameras.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there were still a lot of bodies in the room. Was it a lot
Hmm.
less than what would typically be for a competition that size? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're
But
still
see, when it comes to situations like that, is it really? It takes one person who's been in direct contact. You
yeah.
know, like I wouldn't. Yeah, the amount of people definitely will add to the risk, but it just takes that one person.
Yep.
You know, and that one person can ultimately lead to another person's death, and that's for me what I don't take lightly about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the human emotion side of me wants to say, yes, I want to dance. Like, let me participate. Like, this is what I've been working for. But the responsible kind of ethical side of me is like, no, it's probably not something I should be involved with because it goes against what I believe, which is ultimately the well-being of everyone around me.
100%. Yeah.
That's a
Fall.
tough one. That's a good question.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought experiment that I think a lot of us are having. You know, I'm already starting to think. There's been talk in Utah whether or not it'll happen is still up in the air, but there's a talk about letting the stay-at-home order in Salt Lake County expire as of May 1st.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I've seen some stuff about that.
so as an instructor, I'm already starting to have the conversation with my students that says like, no, I'm not going to be back in the studio May 1st. It's going to be a very slow and cautious rollout. These are going to be the markers that I'm looking for. These are going to be the restrictions that I put in place. This is if and when life resumes to whatever normal means. Um, Me as an individual and thinking about the health of my students and anybody that I come in contact with, I'm already starting to have those conversations of like, okay, if this happens, this is probably gonna be how I react, but we won't know until that date actually comes, and the information we have at the time could be vastly different than the information that we have right now. Um,
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that topic, a follow up question from the chat. What are your thoughts on sequined face masks as a dance accessory on the competition floor? I've already seen both Dance America and Dore offer them.
That's
The
funny.
price points are vastly different because I think the utility of what Dance America is currently selling and what Dore is trying to sell are very different. Dance
Hmm.
America, I think, is selling like the practice mask that happens to have sequins on it. So when you're doing your lessons or you're in the studio, you have that face covering. Um,
You're not so basic.
yeah, Dore though, and I am very impressed with them choosing this as a business model. They've come out with like full rhinestone lace, flesh colored AB crystal, like everything. They are 100% going first competition back. Everybody's wearing a face mask, and it's going to be one of ours.
Yeah, that's. I mean, do what you got to do. So what was the question exactly?
What are your feelings on sequined face masks as a dance accessory? And I'll follow that up with: is that something that you would be interested in making potentially?
Yeah. So for me, when it comes to the face masks, I think that it's more. I'm more about the safety and the practicality of it than the look.
Yeah,
Um, I know this is probably supposed to be a fun question, but I'm going to answer it very seriously.
go for it.
Because that has to do with the health of the individual wearing it and everyone around them. I don't support what's going on with the face mask trends. I
Mm.
think I think that I find it to be a little offensive, I won't lie, because what's the point of wearing the mask? I mean, how would you answer that? Like, what's the point of the mask?
I wear a mask so that if I'm an asymptomatic carrier, I'm not spreading it. So
Right?
I'm
So,
self-containing in my own
yeah,
space.
yeah. Um, so ultimately, it's for the safety of those around you,
Hmm.
And when you're seeing, as I've seen so many things online, and I've seen some of my competitors, and if that mask is up to par, right? If it's doing what the mask is supposed to do, I don't care what it looks like,
Yeah.
you know. The only masks that Trev and I are wearing are medical masks, and we, through his work, fortunately, were able to find some of those, and that's coming from someone who has a 100% professional sewing studio that he owns.
Yeah.
But I haven't made myself or anyone else a mask because I can't back up the integrity of that mask. I'm not a professional mask maker. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So so long as that mask guarantees to do what it's supposed to do, then yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, why be basic?
Exactly. Yeah. I'll follow that up with just my take on it. Anything is better than nothing,
Yeah.
but know that two pieces of fusible interface are not going to have the same reduction in spread that an N95 or an N99 mask would have. So if you can find a way to get the filters that are in like an
Hmm.
N9, I have an N99 mask that I purchased from a thrift store well before all of this happened. It's a smog mask that they were selling because Salt Lake City's air quality was so bad this past fall, that I finally picked one up. Um, if you have a way to sew the filter into the mask, then I think you can wear it with confidence. But if you're wearing a homemade mask, again, something is better than nothing. But know that just because you have a mask on your face does not give you permission to get within 6 feet of me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've seen some masks up close. Like I've held them in my hand of some people that are distributing them, um, not for free, mind you. They're selling them, and it's just a single layer of fabric, you know. And I just can't help but think, why would you do this? Like, why are you making money off of this? But it's none of my business.
Yeah.
It's none of my business. It's not my. I'm not buying it. I'm not making them. I have very mixed feelings about the masks that I do see when I do have to go to the grocery store. You know, it is what it is.
I
But
will
yeah,
say
why
I've
not have fun with it?
exactly. Put your creative spin on it. Slap some AB crystals on it, and call it a day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I will say I again I'd rather see someone with a bandana or a homemade mask than
Then
nothing when I
nothing.
go to the
Yeah,
grocery
for sure.
store. But
Mhm.
yes, absolutely. If you're going to wear it for medical purposes, it needs to be a medical purpose mask.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
Um, so we have time for like one or two more questions. I'm gonna see if there's anybody in the chat that has anything that they want to talk about. What so what is the goal short term while you're still in while we still do have restrictions? If
Hmm.
someone wanted to get a hold of you and create a custom either piece of practice wear or a dress or formal or costume or pants or trousers or whatever they are interested in, what is the current process looking like as far as consultation?
Uh, so we can go about it one of two ways. We can do everything virtual, right? So we could have a FaceTime meeting. We can just be back and forth with sketch and ideas through email, through text, through IM, whatever. Um, that's one option. I last week actually I did start. I did have a face-to-face consultation. I limited it to two people, right? So any more than that, we'd have to break up the meeting. And there are situations where I sometimes meet with up to four people at a time. Let's say, I'm designing something for a young dancer. They bring their mom, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then that young dancer also has a partner and they need something too. So they bring their mom. So that's how I get the four people.
Sure.
And it was one of those situations where it was multiple people. And I was like, I can't justify meeting with so many people in my studio. I'm trying to keep it still a safe place. So we just maintained our distance. Obviously, there were no handshakings, no hugs, which I like to do personally. I'm
Yeah.
very interactive that way. Just a lot of hand sanitizer and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of distance, and I felt fine with it. Yeah, I felt fine with it, and I think it's important just to be honest. I mean, if you had been exposed to something, or if you knew someone that was in close proximity to you who had been exposed, or was tested and did come back positive, I hope that you would have enough moral to not come into my space,
Yeah.
and I'm just open that way, and it was like, it's been a little awkward. I won't lie when they did message me and I was like, look, so obviously I'm trying to take these safety precautions. Like, how has your health been? Do you know anyone? Yada yada. And we it led to a very kind of straightforward conversation, and ultimately we determined that it would be okay to meet so long as we kept it a very very small group
Mm-hmm.
and we maintained our distance.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay meeting face to face so long as we can both be very honest with each other and understand that it's going to be, a little alternative the meeting. It's going to be at a distance. It's going to be no handshaking, no touching, but we can still smile and we can still have a good time with it. Yeah. So those are the two ways that I'm going about it right now.
Awesome. So if people do
And
have,
it's like yeah, and it is out of necessity, because I'm a very small business and I have to work. You know what I mean? I have to work, and I'm seeing this as a temporary situation because once all of this is lifted, I expect it to be bombarded with work. So if I can kind of sift through that before we get to that point, even though just a little, it's going to help me, um, in the short long term. And I kind of, you made a comment on Facebook. It's kind of like a question, I think, and I commented about kind of my perspectives and feelings on that and how I'm having to do this really out of necessity. So
yeah, yeah, I think a lot of us that are in that, small business, we have a service or a product that requires face-to-face, one-on-one interaction with a lot of people. Has have been spending the last couple weeks. I know have been spending a lot of my time talking with Matt about, how is this going to permanently impact my business? How can I keep my business running in some way, shape, or form, so that I do
mhm.
have a little bit of income?
Yeah,
And then moving forward, uh, do I not learn anything from this experience and do I just go back to the way things have traditionally been run, or do I change out of necessity the way that I am doing business in a way that if this happens again in 6 months or 6 years,
Yeah.
I've kind of proofed it as much as I possibly can
Yeah.
in this scenario. So I like
Yeah.
the fact that you're making those tweaks and you're saying, yes, I'm still open for business, but we're going to have serious conversations about what your exposure is, how your health is, and I'm going to limit the number of bodies that I have in the room, and for your customers to know that you are putting 100% of your faith in them being forthright and honest with you. Because I think that's something that a lot of customers need to understand is if you are going out and about, like the people that you're interacting with are putting their faith and trust and health in your hands.
Yeah.
So don't take
Yeah.
that lightly.
Yeah. Serious stuff for sure.
Yeah. Any supply chain issues? You mentioned earlier that you are going out and purchasing all of the fabric and accessories on your own. Have you run into any issues getting those materials since?
Well, that was kind of, yeah, in general statement, not necessarily referring to the process now.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to be in a place where I'm well stocked. I have a lot of supplies in house right now.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. I haven't really had to go out and buy anything. I did have one situation where, like I mentioned earlier, the last project I finished was a wedding dress.
Hmm.
I needed some lace
Hmm.
and I couldn't find it anywhere. Um, so I got in contact with a vendor that I work with very closely in LA, and they were actually able to send me some stuff, which is I was very surprised because LA's lockdown's a lot more severe than ours, I'd say,
Hmm.
here in Utah. And basically, the conversation went something like this: "Hey, I need something. Do you have it?" It's like, we do, but it's in our warehouse, and we don't have access to our warehouse. So if we have this, I don't know if they live in like their store or whatever, but they said if we have it in the store, then we can send it. And fortunately, they were able to send it. So it wasn't
Nice.
in their warehouse, which they don't have access to, which is kind of scary,
Yeah.
knowing that they have all of this merchandise that they don't even have access to. It's illegal. It's illegal for them to access any of that.
Yeah.
So apart from that, I haven't had any issues. I mean, if I got desperate, I know that Joann's is still open.
Yeah.
I know that Hobby Lobby is still open, and I know Walmart is still open. And really, locally, those are the only three stores that I, in the past, have purchased fabric from or supplies, buttons, notions, whatever I might need to complete a project. So
Yeah.
I know those stores are still open. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I feel like unless you're in a major city, you probably don't have access right now. And even if you are in a major city, you probably don't, due to restrictions, to those larger like fabric warehouses or
Yeah.
stores that kind of really sell. I mean, the famous one that everyone comes to mind because of, as we alluded to earlier, Project Runway is Mood, but there are many other stores similar to that Mood model that designers like Marcos and others really rely on to get their supplies and their fabrics.
Yeah.
So when those options are limited, then yeah, you have to go back to hoping that Michael's or Joanne's has the zipper or the bobbin filler or
Yeah. Yeah.
all those
For
little
sure.
things.
Yeah. But luckily, I'm on top of what I need, and I use a lot of the same fabrics, just in different colors, and I have a lot of fabric. So hopefully that'll suffice here until I know more or less what's going to go on with my vendors in LA, because I do most of what I get is in Los Angeles and New York, and they're both
They're
pretty
both
bad right
super
now.
locked.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I'd say 80%, if not 90% of fabrics and stuff that I need to be able to make something come from Los Angeles and New York City. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
So I alluded to it earlier when I introduced you at the very beginning, but correct me if I'm mistaken in this. Are you still coaching a high school team? Did you used to coach a high school team?
No, I never coached the high school team. I did teach. I was like the main ballroom teacher at a studio,
Okay.
but with with design work, I just didn't have time to continue that. I love teaching. It's definitely one of my passions. I still coach um, here and there, but it's not something that I pursue as much, nearly as much as the designing goes. Yeah.
Gotcha. If
I wish I had more time, but there's only 24 hours in a day, so.
Yeah. If you waved a magical wand and were suddenly coaching more frequently, would you see yourself coaching kids, teens, or adults more frequently?
They're so different. I don't know. That's asking me if I have a preference, right?
Yeah, which one is your favorite child?
I like teaching kids because I like teaching everyone, and I'm going to tell you why. I like teaching kids because they're so mendable. You tell them to do something and they do it.
Hmm.
And then I like teaching adults because they're a challenge. They challenge you. If you tell them to do something, they need to know why.
Yep.
So it really puts your experience into play, which I enjoy too. They're also a lot more analytical. They'll actually consider what you're saying. They'll write stuff down. And I like that. I like being appreciated like that as a teacher. When someone takes what you say so to heart that they're actually, you know, going about it at a very kind of educational type of way.
Yeah.
Um, I love teaching, and yeah, it's. I think anyone that loves teaching will love teaching anyone, because of the challenge of it and because of the unique how unique each situation can be. But if I had to spend the rest of my life teaching one age group, I'd say it would probably be between 10 to 15. Yeah, between that age range.
Yeah. They're just malleable enough that you can make them do some ridiculous things and they just take to it like fish to water, but they are old enough
Yeah.
to start asking those important questions about why and
Yes.
how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they also have this sense of awe about things,
Mhm.
you know, and they're excited still, and they're very they're very optimistic, and they look towards the future, and they're just very dreamy. And that's what I like about kids around that age.
Yeah.
Is they don't really see things for what they are. They kind of see things for the bigger picture sometimes, and I think that's very romantic.
Hmm.
A very romantic situation when it comes to someone like that and a teacher. It's fun. It's fun to teach kids that age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, anything else that you wanted to chat about this morning before we wrap things up?
No, yeah, I think we covered a lot of ground. This was a good conversation. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, we talked about a lot. Yeah, I think we're good.
And it was nice just seeing you and talking to you.
Same,
It's
yeah,
been forever
yeah,
since we've caught up.
yeah. It has been. I think the last time was at Utah Star, right? The last time I saw you.
Yeah,
I think
yeah, in
so. Yeah,
passing in between stuff.
that was what, October last year? No, when was that? Not October.
November. It was right before Thanksgiving.
Holy cow! Wow, that's a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, if there's one positive that I can find in this whole situation is I have been very driven over the last couple weeks to check in with people that I haven't seen in a while.
It's interesting, as so have I. And whether I actually get to the point of messaging them or calling them, I at least think about them.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, no, it's definitely kind of I think it's taken us back to our human side, you know, because we have so little going on that we're, I guess, little compared to what we're used to.
yeah,
Um, and it's kind of reminded us to be human a little bit more, to check in on each other and to make sure everyone's doing okay. So I mean, that is definitely a plus to what's going on, for sure.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Marcos, for coming and
Yeah,
chatting with
yeah.
me this morning. If you want to find more information about Marcos or MMD, you can use the Instagram link below his photo over here. It is Marcos M Designs on Instagram. He's also everywhere else on social media, but mainly point of contact start with Instagram and then go from there. You can find me at Love Live Dance, www.lovelivedance.com, on Facebook at Stout Ballroom Dance, and on Instagram at Love Live Dance SLC. If you tuned in for this live and you were in the chat, thank you so much. We appreciate it. If you are listening to this later as a podcast or on YouTube, we do this every Monday at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So come chat with us. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Be kind to each other. Stay healthy. Stay happy. And we will see you for the next one.
Yay.